I told the story one time about being the bully, being a bully when I was in elementary school, about bullying a girl who had just immigrated to the Bahamas from Haiti. And I made this young girl's life hell every day. And part of why I was making her life hell was because every day my life was hell. Every day I was going home to a house that was filled with violence, and I didn't know what I was going to encounter from day to day. And so I took all of my hurt, anger, pain, and frustration, and I channeled that into the body of somebody else. I directed all of that hurt, all of that anger, all of that pain that I was experiencing in my house, and I directed that in the direction of somebody else. And so when you have been the bully, you understand what motivates a bully. And then the universe gave me a gift. At the time, I was so riddled with shame, I didn't understand the gift that it was, but it gave me a gift. And the gift was I was probably in my late 20s. I'd gone back home to the Bahamas, and I'm heading downtown Bahamas, and I see that young girl, I see that young woman that I had bullied in school. And I was so different from the little girl that was mean and cruel. But to her, I was the same person. There was no difference in me. She saw me as the person who tortured her, who made school terrible for her, who made life hard for her. And I was so riddled with shame. But everything in me wanted to talk to her. Everything in me wanted to apologize to her. And so I did. So I walked over to her and I asked if she remembered who I was. And she said she did. And I had the opportunity to say to her how sorry I was for how I treated her in school. And that the reason was not an excuse, it was just the reason. And she asked me, do I remember what I had done to her? Do I remember any of the things that I had done to her? And I didn't realize how important that is. But when you have harmed people, when you have hurt people, there's an incident, there's a time, there's an event that person remembers that you may not remember, right? And they need you, they need that event. They need you to own that event because that was a defining event or a moment for them. Like every day you go to school and every day you bully them and every day you scream at them, every day you fight them, whatever you do. But there's an event. There's something that you did that stays with them. And they need from you to remember that thing. And I said, I remember some of what I did, but I don't remember all of what I did. I just remember doing, this, that, and the other thing. I remember making fun of you and saying that you smelled bad and all these things that I had done as a kid. And there was one incident that I won't repeat here that I do remember doing to her. And that was the incident that she needed from me. That was the thing she needed me to say. And when I said, I remember, I think the worst I did was this. And when I said that, she started crying. And something in me broke when I saw her break. And she said something to me that has stayed with me to this day. And I think it fuels the work that I do around empathy. I really think it fuels the work that I do around empathy. She said, you changed who I was. And because you changed who I was, you changed who I could be in the world because I no longer believe I could be any of the things that I believed before I encountered you. The weight of that. You changed who I was. And because you changed who I was, you changed who I ended up being in the world. The weight of that, I still carry that. I don't think we understand the gravity of when we hurt people, when we bully people, we change who they are. We change how they see themselves. And once you change the way somebody sees themselves, you change the way they show up in the world. Your reason for bullying somebody, your reason, not your excuse, may be valid. And whether you bully people as a child or you bully them as an adult, you change who people are when you do that. And I think it's part of it's why I do this work around empathy, why I want people to understand what empathy is. I was saying to a friend that I was talking to, I think a lot of us think empathy is, well, I can imagine myself in her shoe. Empathy is actively listening to the other person. Empathy is understanding another perspective. Empathy is emotional regulation. Empathy is forgiveness. It's more than just understanding. And it's why I created that scorecard because I wanted people to truly understand what empathy is in practice. And when she told me I changed who she was, I carry that. And I never want to be a person that changes the way somebody else sees themselves. Because if I change the way they see themselves and it's in a negative way, I change the way they go out into the world. We have to be mindful. I think what is happening right now gives us an opportunity. It gives us an opportunity to really look at how we show up in the workplace, how we show up in our families, how we show up in our friendships, and how we show up in our lives. When you bully somebody, you change how they see themselves. And if you're not in the business of helping somebody change how they see themselves, to see themselves as smart, confident, capable, all in all the ways that benefits them, stop. You may have a reason for why you bully somebody. You don't have an excuse for it. When you harm somebody, that you cause them to change how they see themselves. That's a permanent thing. That's a permanent thing. And I live with that and I carry that. And so I never ever want to be that person in the world to another human. I never want to be that person in the world to another human. The 9-year-old, 10-year-old Tammy. Some people will say, well, you were young. I was. And there was a reason why I was doing it, but it was not an excuse. But even understanding that at 10, I changed the way somebody saw themselves in the world sits with me. I carry that with me. And I try to live a life where I never do that to somebody else. Ever. When you were the bully, you understand the bullies. And the only question for the bully is, why don't you like yourself? That's a question people have to sit with. If you have bullied somebody, why don't you like yourself? Start there. Start there. Start with that question. Why don't I like myself? Because if you don't like you, you're going to make sure everybody around you doesn't like themselves either.